Obnoxious. You literally. I blocked Mia by that.
I blocked him. Orange. You know what I used to write down? You know what?
So, just grab a seat. Everyone has pencils with them, right? Good. Everyone's ready today? Okay. My name is Eli Poe, and I'm the head instructor of Collegible. I've taught test prep for students like yourselves who are in 8th grade, people who are also in high school who are preparing for college, taking SAT, ACT. I've done this all for 17 years here in the Bay Area, so I've taught several thousand students over the years. And today is our first session, and we're going to be dealing with a lot of topics that deal with the HSPT, and some of them that also cover topics such as the SSAT. What I'll do, just to kind of open it up, I know a lot of you guys know each other, but let's do a round of introductions, because there's some people who are not from the same school, but I know a lot of you guys are. So let's start over here, right here. Okay, Jason, and then tell us what school you're at, and then and some kind of interesting thing about you. Interesting thing about you. Eating nachos. Okay, thank you for that one, Jason.
I know mine.
Okay, over here.
My name is Jack. I go to St. Thomas the Apostle, and I've never had boba.
Never had boba.
I know that.
That's unbelievable. Okay, it's Jason and Jack. Okay, go ahead. Okay. Oh wow, that is so interesting. Wow. Okay. All right. Sydney. All right.
What's interesting about me? I'm obsessed with Korean stuff. I know it.
Korean stuff. Are you Korean?
I thought she was somewhat, yeah.
Somewhat. Okay. Awesome. So Mia's into Korean. All right. And I never did Coke. You never drank Coke.
Coke is. I'm gonna make.
Wow, that's amazing.
I never tried.
That was a little bit of thing we saw there. All right. Okay. Good. Good.
So I'm Delaney. I go to St. Thomas Apostle School. And what interesting fact about me is I need coffee.
You need coffee. Delaney needs coffee. At what age did you start drinking coffee? Last year, but you really like coffee. Can you drink it without sugar, without sweetener? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because you're not a true coffee drinker if you can't drink it without sweetener.
I can work on Tuesday and I can give a talk.
Awesome.
I'm so happy.
Oh wow. Okay. Awesome. That's good. You're ahead of everybody. All right. Next one.
How are you older than me? How is Jack older than me when you ask me?
Let's give the girls. Let's keep going with this. Yes.
I'm Cindy. I'm in the St. Thomas Apostle. Interesting thing about me is I love to sleep, but I don't have enough sleep. So.
Okay.
Like,
Everyone does. Okay.
You sleep at like 7 o'clock and wake up at like 11.
Okay.
No, you sleep at like 12 yesterday. Yeah, 12 so early.
All right. And Catherine.
I'm so impressed. You were just yelling at Cindy.
I like all types of tea.
What about boba?
And boba.
Okay, Jackie, you gotta learn. Okay.
Head in the way.
All right.
I'm sorry for what.
And then okay, one.
Zoe.
Okay.
They go to St. Bridget's school. And I pay people to take their showers.
Night showers? Why night showers?
I don't know.
What's wrong with night showers?
How would you do a night shower?
Okay, and then, morning shower. Last but not least, last but not least, what is your name? Okay, you gotta introduce yourself, Donna. Anything you want to say? Anything.
I'm currently reading Harry Potter.
Still?
Yeah.
I thought that's
I didn't
okay.
get past the second book.
Okay, well, good. That's great introductions. Obviously, this is a very sociable crowd because obviously most of you guys know each other, but that's totally fine. What I will say is this. I will say that, these were the most interesting factoids that I've seen among students this week. They were pretty impressive, okay? So we want to get started. In front of you guys is your workbooks, and these are yours. What I'm going to do here is this. I'm going to trade one of these for either Jason or Jack because I forgot to put them. So either way. Okay. So let's get started with this. And what's interesting here is we're going to get familiar with a test that you guys took last week. I know some of you guys took SSAT, but I know all of you guys are eventually going to take the HSPT. There's a lot of crossover in terms of the types of questions. Math is relatively similar. Reading comprehension in terms of strategy is very similar. So we're going to get into these. Let's turn open our books. You guys should have a pen with you or a pencil. Pencils are better because you can erase, okay? But let's get into this, and we should turn it straight into there, and let's go through some getting started frequently asked questions. I know that's something you guys have seen a lot of, but can someone tell me what does the acronym HSPT stand for?
High school performance.
Raise your hand test. Thank you, Jack, but raise your hand on that one. Okay, Delaney, I wouldn't call you that. So, high school play. Why did we have to take this test?
High school.
Do you have to? You could go to Lincoln. Catholic high schools require it, right? So there's only 2 test dates, and you can only register for one of them. In the Bay Area, it's the first Saturday. In San Francisco, for the San Francisco Archdiocese schools, you can only do it on the first Saturday. If you can't make that day, the only other place you can take it is Marin Catholic, which is the next Saturday. Because the reason why they offer it on a later week is some people end up taking the Lowell exam or something like that on that weekend. So they can't make both the HSPT and the Lowell exam, or they're taking the SSAT that weekend. So depending on which you're taking. So you really got one shot for this test. Okay. So, and what I was going to say to add on to last week is some of you guys have seen coming late to a test does not help. And I'm not trying to beat a dead horse, but what I'm trying to tell you guys is that HSPT is a one-time thing. You can't say, oh, I missed it in January, can I take it in February? Or can I take it in December? If you did, I think you'd have to pay extra for that and find another location. But most of the Catholic high schools here, they just pretty much take that test on that first weekend of January. So don't be late. Don't come unprepared. Bring an ID. Bring pencils. Okay. All right. What do I need to know to score well? What do you guys think? Anybody want to answer this one? This is an open-ended. Jack? Oh, you raised your
You
hand.
have to be smart.
Yes?
You have to be smart.
You do? Okay. So that's an easy way to answer that. Anybody else?
That's the only.
Only answer to it. Okay. Anyone else? Delaney?
Like, kind of have to be like a
well-rounded student so that
Well-rounded.
you can do well in like all the different parts.
Okay. Well-rounded. Any others? How many of you guys felt like it took a lot of speed to get through that test? Yeah, that was also important. Believe it or not, speed is almost as important as knowledge, because you could sit there thinking and thinking and thinking, but for most of these questions, you don't even have 1 minute. And for the section that we're going to talk about today, verbal, you've really got 60 questions in 16 minutes. So you got to be jamming on this thing, okay? So to score well, obviously accuracy is very important. Jack, do you have something else?
Yeah, you have to be careful, because I made a mistake and I skipped one, so everything was offset, and so everything would have been wrong, unless I was lucky, and then you don't have as much time to do it, so you have to erase everything and go back.
Yeah, it's a good point there. So bubbling.
And you have to figure out the one you skipped.
Right, you have to figure that out. That's good. I have graded thousands of these bubble sheets, and I've seen some students who double bubble. That is not talking about bubble gum. I'm talking about, for one answer, for number 30, they go A and D. And I'm like, how can you choose A and D? Track of where they're bubbling, and they just kind of just bubbled away. And did look back at it and go, oh shoot, I double bubble. I've seen multiple double bubble.
I had to double check.
Okay, good to double check.
I accidentally put some bubbles in E. Why was there even an E thing in the first place?
Because it has to have that.
Well, there's just standardized bubble sheets. So what we'll learn from this course, I'll answer this for you. It is a combination of content, reviewing some things. Maybe there's some areas of math that we don't know. Maybe there's some new types of questions that we saw on the practice test. We're like, whoa, I'd never seen that before. That's kind of weird. How do I deal with that? These are typically, especially verbal and reading questions, these are things that we don't see in our classes at school, because our classes don't really train us to take these standardized tests. They just teach us like how to analyze literature, look at, a story or a novel and break that down, or how to write an analytical report. So it's very different, okay? So that's what we're gonna get into. So let's turn this page, and I hope you guys are filling things in here, because this is meant for you guys to write on. The more you write, the more you get out of this, okay? I will say that I've noticed a lot of students who don't write, they kind of do this thing where they're just kind of looking at, the teacher or the board, and they're kind of like, okay. And then, like in a math problem, after it's done, okay, then I go, okay, on to the next problem. They're like, wait, stop, I didn't get to write it down. I'm like, okay, you got to learn to multitask. How many of you guys can tap your head and rub your stomach at the same time? Good job there, Mia. Jack, Jason, okay, Cindy, Catherine, good, Zoe, Akiko, good, all right. Delaney, no?
No.
What? Okay. People like you need to learn to multitask, and that means listening and writing at the same time. All of you guys are very good. Did you guys practice that or something like that? That's what I figured. Yeah. I know. So I want you guys to actively listen by writing. Okay, so let's talk about the HSPT format. And HSPT is a multiple choice test. It has 298 questions. This is a pretty long test in 5 sections. Okay, lots of questions there. If you're taking SSAT, they have fewer questions, so you're getting more time per question. HSPT includes these sections: verbal, quantitative, reading comprehension, math, and language skills. So I'll repeat these over again. They are verbal, quantitative, reading comprehension, mathematics, and language skills.
Wait, what did you say? How many sections are there? 5?
There are 5. That's why there's 5 blanks there.
The language,
298 questions. I don't know why they didn't just go, let's have 300 questions. They somehow they said, no, we got to stop at 298. Okay, I don't know.
When people do that.
It's kind of like, it's bad luck. 300 is bad luck. Let's just stop at 298. I don't know why, but that's what they did. Okay.
It's probably how old they were.
It could be. They added up their ages and names. So let's continue here. Okay. Unlike other tests like the ISEE, the SSAT for private independent schools, those tests only include a verbal section, reading, and math. And the verbal sections overlap in some ways. So that's what we're going to look into. You have 4 answer choices per question on all the questions except for logic. Okay, I'll read that again. So you have 4 answer choices per question on all the questions except the logic questions, which have only 3 answer choices. So here's an example. One is a verbal analogy question, and you can see it says, shoot is to arrow as throw is to, and you have 4 answer choices.
Fire.
Yeah, ball sounds pretty good there. Okay, I don't think you throw a fireman. Okay. I highly doubt you could do it, but this is a logic question below this. Let's have someone read this. Akiko, you want to read this one? This is.
Mary runs faster than Samuel runs faster than Mary. Samuel is not as fast as if the first
I don't
two
like
statements are the best thing.
So you have 3 answers. They're true, false, or uncertain. We'll go into, I'm not actually going to answer these questions or anything, but these are just samples to show when something has 4 answer choices and when something has 3 answer choices. So this one is, this is false. Yeah, because we already know Samuel is faster than Mary. If Mary's faster than Jane, it has to be false. So, okay.
Look at the uncertain part.
Uncertain means sometimes it could be true if there's not enough information to completely determine it. We'll get into that.
We should bring pens next time so we can click them.
I missed that. Okay, let's continue here. All right, let's continue with the breakdown and timetable here. So this is just kind of an overview of this test. For verbal, you have 60 questions in 16 minutes. This is probably the most time-intensive section of the entire test. It's kind of like, hey guys, you just woke up, let me throw you in the pool. All right, swim. Okay, that's what that is. The next one is the quantitative skills, which is a math section. It has 52 questions in 30 minutes.
What?
52 questions in 30 minutes. You've got to jam through this thing. It's not something that you can just kind of take it casually or anything like that.
When are we going to get our words back?
They're still getting processed. So the next part is it's through machine. Yeah. So there's a reading section, and a reading section has 62 questions, and it's only 25 minutes. So this is probably another very time intensive. If you're taking the SSAT or the ISEE, you have more time. I said 62 questions. 62, let's keep the commentary down. 62 questions, 25 minutes. So you've got to be jamming through that, okay? On the ISE and the SSAT, you have 40 minutes, 40 questions. So it's a little bit easier in terms of time intensity. A little bit, but the passages are harder. On the SSAT and the ISE, the passages are harder. In terms of the mathematics section, there's 64 questions, 45 minutes. Again, more questions than minutes, all right? Well, the next one is language skills, and that was the last section on the HSPT, and that one was 60 questions, 25 minutes. So for a lot of these, you've got really just one shot to do things. If you find yourself struggling to find an answer for more than 10 seconds, 20 seconds, you've got to move on for a lot of these things, okay? Then, and then, you know, coming back to it. So totals here, 298 questions, and in terms of time, that's 2 hours and 21 minutes. So 2 hours and 21. So let's go to the next one. Let's talk about scoring here. So the HSPT is scored on a scale of 200 to 800. Okay. This is done by the STS, which produces the HSPT, and they don't produce a scale. So usually this is based on your percentage for the HSPT. Your score is based on the number of correct answers only. They don't deal with incorrect answers on the HSPT. If you're taking the SSAT, this is if you're applying to places like UHS and LIC, if you take the SSAT, wrong answers are taken away, are multiplied by 1/4, and that amount is taken away from your correct answers. So if you answered 10 correctly, but you answered 4 incorrectly out of 14 questions, then instead of getting 10 points, you get 9. That's on the SSAT. So they actually deduct from your number of points. How many of you guys are taking SSAT also? At least 4 of you guys? Okay. So at least 4 of you. And the ISE, which is another test that schools like LIC and UHS accept, there's no penalty on wrong answers. So that's another test that people take. Let's go back to this with a HSPT. Incorrect answers do not penalize your raw score. So incorrect answers do not penalize your raw score. So that's the safety of this test. You can bubble away. If you're running out of time, just bubble away, do an A, B, C, D, E, okay? Or do what you like, whatever your random choices may be. It can be whatever you like. If you like C's all the way down, you can do that. If I'm stuck on a question, I should skip it and come back, but decide quickly, okay? Don't dwell on any question, all right? If I'm stuck on a question, I should skip it and come back. Question there, Jack?
Do some people take HSPT like on a computer, or is it always in a paper?
The only condition in which a student could take it on a computer are the following. One, you live in a remote location, like you're in the middle of Kazakhstan or Uzbekistan or something like that, and you're like, I really want to go to SI, but I live in Uzbekistan, right? And you're like, okay, how can I take it? Well, you can take it on a computer. The other condition is you prove yourself to be like completely legally blind, where you can't see on paper without a super microscope, okay? And I'm not even lying, like this is true. I had a student, she was legally blind. She could not see unless it was on a computer, and it was increased to 400%. And even at 400%, if this was her computer screen, this is how she did it. She looked at it like this. So she was literally legally blind, like blind beyond blind. Okay, this is not just like, yeah, man, like Delaney was like, my eyes are bad, I gotta sit in the front. Okay, it's not like that. We're talking really blind. So that answers your question, Jack. You cannot do it on the computer. Okay, because you're not in Uzbekistan. I don't think your parents are gonna fly you out there. Okay, your homework assignment, figure out where Uzbekistan is. No. All right.
Really?
It is not. Okay, let's continue here. If I'm running out of time, I should fill in. Yeah, fill in all questions. Guess away. All right. So continue. All right, let's continue here. Let's talk about verbal skills subset. And this verbal skills subset is the very first section of the HSPT. As I said earlier, it has 60 questions, 16 minutes. So this is a speed test, okay? The verbal skills subset has 5 types of questions, and we're going to go through each type. We're going to talk about the strategies for each type. The first one is analogies. The second one, synonyms. The third one, logic. The fourth one is verbal classifications. And the last one is called antonyms. The one thing I will state here is that the verbal skills section does not put the questions in order of these types of questions. It's just a random sprinkling of these questions, okay? It's not like, okay, I did all the analogies first, now I'm doing the synonyms, now I'm doing the logic questions. It's just a random sprinkling. It's just like your first question might be an antonym. Your second question might be a logic. The third one might be verbal classifications. So there's a wide range of things here. Do me a favor, Zoe, can you close that door? That'd be great. And then also That window, that'd be great. Right behind you, there's a window. That'd be great. Okay, great. Awesome. So let's continue here. Did everyone catch what I was saying? It's a random sprinkling of questions. We're going to start off with analogies here, okay? So this is what a typical analogy question looks like. The HSPT asks 10 analogy questions in the verbal section, okay? So of the 10, this is less than 1/5 of the total questions here. They typically look like this. Let's have Mia read this first one for us. Number 1.
Visual society as
Okay, so with analogy questions, I know the natural thing to do is, okay, I'm just going to read this thing and read the answer choices and see whether or not I can fit one of them in there. So you end up reading this thing 5 times, right? How many of you guys did that on the test? Reading it 5 times. Okay, thank you for your openness to admit it. That's very good, Jason. So what I want to say is this. I don't want you to read 5 times. Okay? Let's talk about the steps that we need to take. At the bottom of the page, you can see the Collegible method for verbal or for analogy questions here. For analogy questions. And the first one is identify the connection between the first 2 words in the question. What that means is focus on these first 2 words. The first 2 words here is visual is to sight. Okay? And then what we need to do is use the connection to predict the relationship of the best answer. But before we do that, what is the connection between visual and sight? Let's hear new voices. I'm hearing a lot of Jack, but I don't hear anybody else. Let's hear from Sydney. What's the connection between visual and sight? Okay, let's hear someone else build a connection here between the 2 words. Let me hear new voices here. Let's hear Akiko.
So visual, I guess, is what you see it.
Okay. Let's hear another one. Let's hear from Cindy.
Oh, like visual, like you see objects and like sight. I don't know. They're like,
It's not objects?
no.
Connect the 2 words. What I'm hearing from you guys is I'm defining the first word, I'm defining the second word. Give me your name again? Donna. Donna. Okay. Jack, chill for a second.
You use your sense of sight to see
You use your sense of sight to see visual. You don't want to change the word itself. That's pretty good. Let's hold on to that. Sense of sight to visual. What do you think here, Jack?
Visual is a sense, and sight is like using the sense.
Very similar. Both you and Donna have very similar ones. I like both of them. Both of them are very similar. This is what I'm going to add to what both of you guys put together. Why don't we just say visual is your sense of sight. Okay? First word is the sense of the second. Okay? Who knows this word tactile? Tactile. Only Jack. You guys being shy? Feel like you know it?
I know it.
Yeah.
Kind of, sort of. Okay, Jack?
Tactical.
No, not tactical.
Careful.
Not. Okay, so let's. Okay, how many of you guys have gone to the Exploratorium? Lots of people have gone to the Exploratorium. How many of you guys have gone to the Tactile Dome?
What?
What? What? Okay.
I swear I know what this is.
Tactile Dome. None of you guys have done it. Yeah, Zoe, finally. Okay, you're awake. Okay, so let's hear from Zoe for a second. Let's hear from Zoe. What is the Tactile Dome?
It's like a giant dome, and like it's pitch black, so you can't see anything. So you're like it's like a little play thingy, so you're like using your hands to like feel out your space, and, like around slides and stuff. Figure out how to get to the end.
right? So it's pitch black, and you basically feel your way through it, right? So what does tactile mean? What do you think, Delaney?
Like feeling, touching.
Feeling and touching. Okay, so what was the connection we said earlier? We said visual is a sense of sight. What I want you guys to write right above the is to, where it says tactile is to, I want you to write is the sense of. Everyone write it, is the sense of. Okay? Is the sense of. What is our best answer for tactile? Answer?
Touch.
It's touch. D is our best answer. You guys all see that? So our best answer is touch. How many of you guys, in doing it this way, felt like, wow, that was pretty obvious. D is it, right? D is the best answer. You didn't have to like plug it. When I heard you guys sharing how you were thinking about this, what I saw was people defining one word, then defining the other, and just trying to say they're somehow connected, right? But we don't really know. We need to establish that, because without creating the connection between the first and the second word, there's no way to truly approach any of the answers, okay? Because the biggest mistake that I see is that students will look at the first two words, which in this case were visual and sight, and they'll go, maybe there's something related to visual and sight, something that has to do with it. And a lot of them will choose like ocular, okay? Because have you guys ever heard the word ocular before? Some of you guys have, some of you guys haven't. It has to do with optical things, right? It's just a general word for things that deal with vision. Like a eye doctor deals with ocular medical issues, right? But that's so general. But it has nothing to do with it. It's not even the right answer. Do you guys see that? So the number one mistake is to use the definitions of the first two words and try to find the similar definitions. That is not the case. They are not necessarily topically related. In fact, most of the times, they are not topically related. Okay, so that's what I want you guys to remember there. So our steps are identify the connection between the first two words of the question, use that connection to predict a relationship to find the best answer, and then match your prediction with the best answer choice. That's how we do it, okay? Couple points here on this page that I wanted to get to. The phrase is to means, what do you guys think? Let's hear new voices here. Catherine, what do you think? Is to?
Equal to, just kidding. I don't know.
It doesn't mean equal to.
No, I was
Okay. Is to. Anyone else? Before I ask Jack, what do you think is to mean?
It's a comparison.
It means comparison. What I really want you to think is it means nothing. Okay? It doesn't mean anything. Because a lot of people think equals, but it doesn't mean equals. It's just a comparison. What Jack was saying, that's true, it's comparison. But it doesn't mean that they have similar meanings. It doesn't mean that they have, you know, it doesn't mean one is a definition of the other. Okay? So don't treat it like that. All right? Next thing, we need to establish a strong connection in order to find the right answer. Question?
When did we get to the first two blanks?
This one's
Ask Jason.
You didn't.
Okay.
No, the first one.
It's 10 and connection.
Oh.
Verbal analogies compare two pairs of words that share a connection. Okay. All right, so we're going to talk about these connections on the next page here. All right. So let's turn this page, and what I'm trying to share with you guys here is that I know it's hard to think of connections. When I asked you guys to think of words, the first two words and how they're related, some people were like, and that's kind of what I heard. This is a list, though it's not exhaustive. It is a pretty good list that covers probably a good 90% of the analogy relationships. The first relationship would be characteristic. So characteristic would be something like fur is a quality of dogs, right? That's generally true. And I don't think too many people are saying, well, isn't there a breed of dog that's naked and has fur? Not really. Okay, I don't even know if I know there's naked cats, but I don't know about naked dogs. So if you saw the words fur and dog, that is a characteristic, okay? You're looking for things that are necessarily true. The second one would be type. a Dalmatian is a type of dog, right? That is necessarily true, okay? It's not like someone's going to go, well, I think Dalmatian is a name of a software that like I heard of. No, okay, let's not do that, okay? The third one would be synonyms, and that's very, very common. Words that are synonymous with each other have similar meanings. Fourth one, antonym, okay, opposite meanings. The fifth one would be part to whole, okay? That part, already like on the board here. The fifth one is part to whole, which is like an example would be your hand is part of your body, right? A toe is part of the foot, right? Those are pretty obvious ones. Pinky is part of the hand, right? Part to whole. The next one, number 6, is part to part. So that's what this would be. Part to part would be like your hand and your foot are both parts of the body, right? So they're kind of equal meanings, right? Part and part. Not one is part of a greater one. Okay, the seventh one would be degree. Degree is kind of interesting because it's one word that is more, one that is less. So if that helps you to write it as more versus less, you can do that. Oops. More and less, or less and more. Degrees, meaning like, an example would be loud versus blaring, okay? Loud is of a certain level of volume that is very noticeable, but blaring is at an annoying level where it's like you just can't do anything but turn it off, right? So, you know, another one might be something like, you know, pleasing versus something that is delightful, right? Delightful is far more than just pleasing, right? Pleasing is very moderate level, but delightful is a greater than moderate level, okay? Those are really challenging. And when you have something like this, you have to have if the first word is less and the second one is more, then the right answer choice has to be less and then more. Do you guys see that? But they don't necessarily need to be topically related to each other. So does everyone get what I'm saying? They don't necessarily have the same definition as the answer choices. Number 8 is called cause and effect. Cause and effect would be something like earthquake and damage, right? Earthquake is directly the cause. It can't be something like, you know, indirectly related. If you said something like, let me think of something like indirectly, like sun and, I don't know, food, okay? It's very indirectly related. Or sun and dinner, okay? No relationship with it. The sun and dinner has no relationship to each other, okay? Has to be a very direct connection, okay? Number 9 is function. And function is the primary function of something. If I said something like brush, and the second word is paint, right? It would be the primary function of a brush is to paint, right? People would say, well, you know, actually you could use that same brush to dust, okay? Depends, all right? Or you could, let me think of a better word, like something like light and bright. Light and bright, okay? That would be, a light is used to brighten something. Primary function. Or a shovel is used to dig. That's the primary one. Unless you're in the mafia and if you're part of the mafia, you use a shovel to like take people out, right? Maybe that if you're in the mafia, but for the primary use, it is to dig, okay? Any questions on these 9 classic connections between words? How many of you guys have heard of some of these before in connecting analogies? A little bit? When we do these, in the next, we're going to have a few examples. I want us to use these connections to identify. Let's continue with strong and weak connections here. Strong connections have relationships necessarily true. Okay? Relationships that are necessarily true. Okay? So let's write that in there. Use always, never, or by definition to test your connection. So if I said something like dog, Dalmatian and dog, can I say, by definition, a Dalmatian is always a dog? Yes.
Yeah.
I hope you weren't already saying, well, what about that software that's called Dalmatian? No, there's no software called that. I just made that up. Okay. There's not. Okay. That's an obscure type of thing that's not going to be, a right answer is going to be one that is true by definition. Okay. If there's any exception to it, it's not a strong connection. For the two words in the question stem, you're going to have to build that connection so you can use that connection with the best answer choice. The same connection will work in the answer and the question stem pairs. Weak connections are only sometimes or partly true. Okay? So if I said, oh yeah, I use that software, it's called Dolphin, right? Does that mean that Dolphin means software? No. Okay, you can see how obscure that is, right? That's partly true, maybe it's true, but it's not a connection, right? Use sometimes, seldom, or maybe define weak connections. When would you spend the energy to find weak connections if you're not sure whether your answer should be B or D? And you're like, I'm not sure. Test them out for weak connections, because if something is only partly true or sometimes true, then that's the wrong answer, okay? If you didn't know the words in the question stem, then you could test out the words in the answers by finding weak connections and knocking those out, okay? Let's try, that's how you eliminate word pairs with weak connections. Let's start with number 2 here. Let's hear from Zoe. Just read the question stem, and then we'll talk about the connection. So read that first. Okay, don't read the answers. What is the relationship between contempt and disrespect? Jeff, what do you think?
I think that they might be antonyms,
Antonyms.
or contempt might be not liking, or like.
Why are they antonyms? Do you know the words?
Contempt is to keep something inside or like deal with it, I think.
Not really.
Oh.
Okay. Anybody know what contempt is? Donna?
They're synonyms.
Not exactly. Not exactly. Complete. They're related, but they're not necessarily synonyms. Zoe? Happy? You're thinking content. T-E-N-T. It's not happy. Donna? It's a strong dislike. And I'll give you an example. If I went to a court to contest a traffic ticket one time, and you can do that. And there's a dude who was in front of me who was wearing a hat. You're not supposed to wear hats in court. And the judge said, take the hat off or you will be held in contempt of the court. That's literally how that guy said. He sounded really mean. And when I'm talking mean, he is seriously mean, okay? So what do you guys think that is? Delaney?
Like upset?
It means strong dislike, okay? That's what that is, contempt. Yes.
More to less?
This is more to less. Because disrespect is minor, but strong dislike is very, so this is more to less degrees. So the first one is more, the second one is less. What words would work best here?
Bureau is to socks.
Bureau is to socks. How is that more to less? Bureau, dude. No, it's not. Bureau is where you put your socks. So Delaney? Hatred is stronger than dislike, so more to less on that one. You guys see that? So what I want you to write next to this is not just circling B as the answer. I want you to write more to less, okay? I want you to write that there. Because I want you guys to think in the connections between the words. Okay, let's go to Number 3, let's hear from Jason. I haven't heard from you.
Patients to hospital, S2, S2.
Okay, what's the relationship between patient and hospital, Jason? Patient stays in a hospital, okay? If we use stays in a hospital, just stay, which word works best for a student here?
C.
Cloud doesn't sound like it works there. Is your head there? I'm kidding. All right. All right. Let's hear from Mia. School is the best one there. What were you gonna say, Jack?
It's like part to whole, sort of like
Not really parts of
or not,
whole.
like I guess I can't really see any
I would say if this had anything, it would be location as a function or a characteristic of
yeah.
that. That's what I would say.
But I think it's
And we did that one on the previous page. That's why it starts with 2. So let's go to the next one here. Let's hear from Sydney. Read that for us.
Pliable is to bend.
What's the relationship between pliable and bend?
Pliable is
Able to, okay. Okay, so here's our connection. Able to. I need you to read the answer choices and use able to between the 2 words. Go ahead and do it. Wait, stop. Whenever you do this, don't just go to the next one. When you read it, in your head, you should be saying to yourself, yes, no, or maybe. So read it and then say yes, no, or maybe. Go ahead.
Musical is able to able to change. Yes.
Okay, so she said yes to B and to C. Which one do you like more? C is unstable, able to explode. That is true. But you're saying, what gives you enough reason to say no to B?
I just didn't see it.
What does mutable mean? Let's tell me what mutable is. What is mutable, Jack?
I know someone who's mute is like deaf, but or can't talk, but mutable, changeable, or like
Yes.
you can I guess.
It has less to do with being mute, like on your remote control where you press it to silence it. Mutable means changeable, which means mutation. Like mutation is change, right? So this is actually the right answer, B, because it's more directly related. There are unstable things that do not explode, okay? So that is not as absolute or necessarily correct. So able to was our between the 2 words. So I want you to write able to. But remember how we said we use that always, never, or by definition test? That's how you really narrow it down. Okay, so let's write able to on that one. Let's go to the next one here. Let's hear from Akiko. You want to read number 5 here?
Nasal is to produce.
What's the connection between measles and disease? Not an animal.
Oh,
It doesn't have 4 legs and a tail. It doesn't have that. Delaney?
Measles
Is a weak connection. Don't use is because that's no better than saying is to. Look at the list. Look at the list. Jack?
If disease is like like
Use the list. Zoe. Type of. That's the correct answer. So let's write type of right next to it. Okay? Type of. So your bottom line here is measles is a type of disease. So what's our best answer here? Jason?
Vultures.
Is a vulture a predator?
Yes. Yes.
No.
What?
What?
Oh, because vultures eat dead stuff.
They're scavengers.
Oh,
Yes.
So, and you guys don't even know the joke that I'm throwing in there when she goes, what? And I go, okay. There's a rapper named Lil Jon, and all of his raps, all he does is say, what? Okay. What? Okay, whatever. All right, you guys have to, it sounds funny. He goes, what? Okay. That's what he sounds like. All right, let's continue here. So type of, this is type of. So it's not vulture, it's a predator. What's a better answer here? Sydney. Correct. Panther is a type of feline. Okay, that is your best answer. Type of. What I want to drive home with analogies before we move in to the next part is I need you guys to memorize these classic connections. Because if they're not actively on the radar for you, then you're going to be starting from scratch trying to relate the two words, and we'll come up with weak connections like is, right, or are. That doesn't work, okay? Let's continue to the next page here. Any questions on that? All right, we'll move. Question, Jack?
Could I bring a list with those 9 things to an HSPT test or no?
No, you got to memorize. Okay, let's continue. HSPT synonyms, okay? The HSPT asks 15 questions that deal with synonyms on the verbal section. What does the synonym question look like on the HSPT? It usually has the phrase most nearly means. I want you guys to underline that one right there. It says meager, most nearly means. Underline or circle where it says most. That's telling you this is a synonym question, okay? Who knows what meager most nearly means? Catherine? Scanty, correct. That's very little, right? Meager. If you said, man, that pay is nothing, meager wages, it's scanty pay, that works, okay? So synonym questions always present one word that most nearly means what an answer choice, okay? Most nearly means. I want to emphasize that, okay? You should be aware of wording of the question to determine if it is a synonym question. By seeing most nearly means, you know it's a synonym now, okay? So our method for this is, our Collegible method is cover the answer choices. And some of you guys are like, what? Cover the answer choices? Why do we do that? Well, if there's 4 answer choices on the HSPT, 3 of them are wrong. So if you're just relying on wrong answers, 3 out of 4 are wrong. Okay, if you're doing on the SSAT, 5 questions, 4 out of 5, that's 80% are wrong. So we don't want to trust them. We want to define it for a second in our head. Define the word in the question, think of the synonym, and then lift your hand, and then it'll be very obvious. You go, oh my gosh, I totally know what this is, right? That's how you find your synonyms. So don't trust wrong answers. That's what I want to emphasize. Let's do some of these on the next page here. What you see on the next page are a bunch of words with no answer choices. What I want you to do with the person next to you for about 3 minutes is I want you to plan out definitions, which we're going to share with each other. Do me a favor, don't look at the next page because it has synonym questions with these words. Don't look at those, okay? Do you want to work with Zoe, Akiko? Why don't you do that? started again. So let's look at these for a second. So let's start on this side of the room with Zoe. What did you give us? What can you give us as a definition for marvel? To be amazed. Okay. All right. I like that. What about debris? What did you say for that, Akiko? Rubble, broken pieces. Okay, that works. How about the next one, Catherine? Infectious?
Like contagious and like spreading.
Okay, contagious. Okay, next one, Donna.
Sinister.
Sinister, possible. Okay, okay. Cindy, next one.
That's the only one we did too.
Okay, not totally sure. Okay, let's go over here. Mia, what's dogged? Okay, Sydney, no. Jack? For dogs. Okay, for dogs. Let's. Okay, Jason. Okay. How about let's go back to Cindy. Antidote.
It's like healing.
Okay, something to heal or fix. What about petrify? Delaney?
I put like terrified to really scared.
Say that again.
To terrify almost.
To terrify. Okay, that's not bad. Fatigue. Mia. Tired. And then ultimate. Okay, final or last. So the only one that got people was dogged. Okay, that's all right. Let's go to these. What I want you guys to do now is, now that we've defined these, you guys, this is just like when we do synonyms, not looking at the answer choices, we define them first. By defining it in our head, by the time you go to the answer choices, it's going to be easy. Okay, it's going to be like, oh my gosh, answers are popping out of the paper. You know, they're jumping at me. Okay, so on the next page, on page 8, let's walk through these together. Let's start with number 5 here. Number 5, Jack, you want to read that and tell us how you would answer it?
Marvel. Sloth, record.
Whoa, what was your prediction? Don't read the answer choice.
To be captivated by something.
Captivated by something. Okay, don't just read it. That defeats everything we just did for the past 5 minutes. Everything that we did. You're the one who is working ahead, and you're doing it with total disregard to what we just did. Okay? You said captivated. What word fits that? Wonder. Okay, that's how you got to do it. Next one, Jason. What did you say for debris?
Like wreckage or waste.
Wreckage or waste. Okay, what's your best answer here? There you go. It's automatic. All right. Let's go to the next one. Number 7. Let's go to Kiko. What did you say originally?
Like contagious and spreading.
Spreading. So contagious works. There's your answer right there for infectious. If that's what you wrote, right? You wrote contagious. There's your contagious right there. Okay. Next one, Zoe. What did you originally say? Scary. Okay, if it's scary, then what's your best answer? Danger is your best answer. Menace, I think of, in the Star Wars series, there was one called Phantom Menace. And so this was like the real bad guy. He was like the red mask, and he had the dual-sided lightsaber, and he could like, you know, he could like fight on both sides like a baton or something like that. That's pretty awesome. Phantom Menace. Okay, you guys know what I'm talking about?
No, but I just realized it's document.
Okay, so let's go with dogged here. You get this one, Donna. Did you have something for dogged? Okay. Did you have a new meaning for it, Jack?
Yeah.
What did you think?
Well, I'm looking at the answers, but like something that's fanatical or fantasy. Like,
Not exactly. So, dogged, how many of you guys in looking at this would have said, oh, canine?
probably.
Or how many guys would have said rabid? Those are tricks. Anything that has to do with the dog was a trick. And I want you guys to develop this sense here, because yes, the word four-legged, furry, canine is part of the word dogged, but dogged means stubborn. Okay? Stubborn, unceasing, unwilling to give up. So your best answer here, maybe you didn't know it, is obstinate. An obstinate person is one who will not give up. Okay. The other words are not necessarily the same. You can be fanatical, like if you went, like Jack, if you were crazy about Justin Bieber and you really were crazy about Justin Bieber and wanted to go to the Justin Bieber concert, and you're like, Mom, I really want to go to Justin Bieber, you know, and then you're like, I can sing Despacito, and, you know, like, but, you know, that's not necessarily the same as being, like, his face is like, I don't listen to Justin Bieber. Anyways, let's continue. His face speaks 1,000 words with a blank expression on Justin Bieber. Anyway, it's like, why did you choose me for Justin Bieber? I'm like, I thought it fit. Okay, but let's continue. All right, let's continue. But a person who's dogged is obstinate. They are very stubborn. Okay. Let's go to number 10, antidote. I forgot who I left off. Was it Cindy? Cindy, what did you choose for antidote here?
Healer fix.
Yeah, healer fix. So what's your best answer? What's that? Remedy. An antidote is like medicine. Medicine is considered an antidote. Okay, number 11, Delaney.
Petrifier. No, that's an answer. Right?
She did that earlier.
Petrified. For petrified and terrified. To terrify.
It's close. Yeah, oh, that is your
So,
prediction. Prediction
I
was
would-
terrified.
I would choose shock.
Shock is very good. It's a terrify. Okay, next one, Mia. Fatigue. What's your best?
Petrified and tired.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty obvious there. Sydney, ultimate. Yeah, there you go. It's right there. So for some of these words, it's a little bit easier because it looks automatic as soon as you look at the answer choices. It just stands out. What I'm trying to get you guys away from is looking at answers and considering it and considering it and considering it. If you're doing that, it means that you don't have anything in mind as to what you're looking for. It's kind of like when people are shopping in a store and you're kind of like, yeah, I'm just like walking around, just looking. I don't really know what I want, right? It's kind of like that. We don't. If we know exactly what we want, we go exactly to that row of that store, that aisle, pick it up, and leave. Okay, that's exactly how
Never happens. No, you have to do that. It never happens.
And you leave. Well, you pay. All right. So let's continue beyond synonyms here. Let's move to logic questions, which is very, very critical here. So logic questions are interesting. Ask 10 logic questions, and logic questions always have between 2 and 3 statements. Okay. Usually the first 2 statements are what you call your given information, and the third statement is the hypothetical one. Okay. So there are 3 answer choices. The 3 answer choices are uncertain. Okay.
The last part before answer choices. Sorry.
Tree.
Oh.
3. So there are 10 questions. There are 2 to 3 statements, and there are 3 answer choices. Typically, they give you just 2 statements that are given information, 1 as a hypothetical. Let's have somebody read this one. Let's have Jack, you want to read this sample question here?
Cheryl is taller than Grace. Tiffany is taller than Cheryl. Tiffany is taller than Grace. If the first 2 statements are true, the third statement is.
Okay. So the third statement is your hypothetical, but your first 2 statements are given information. Okay. So before we answer this one, because I know some of you guys are like, I think I can answer this. Yeah, I know what I'm doing here. Let's go through a method here rather than just feeling it out and saying, okay, I think it's this. Okay. Often you can treat these statements like inequalities in math. Okay. Who knows what inequalities are in math? Hands are going up. That's when you're using things like greater than, less than, equal to.
I don't know.
Those are right. Or you can say greater than or equal to, less than or equal to. So either one. Okay. Those are inequality symbols. All right. Some of you guys are like, really? How do I do that? You can use inequality symbols to turn statements into equations. Let's write that in there. You can use inequality symbols to turn statements into equations. Okay? So if we were to look at this one here, I'm going to put it on the board here. And what we have here is it says the first statement, I'm going to make this kind of like a T here, original. And then this is translations.
Like, what was often you contribute statements like what and equations?
Like equations. You can use inequality symbols to treat these like equations. So the first one says Cheryl is taller than Grace. Okay. Can someone change this into a math equation? Go ahead, Donna.
Cheryl is more, C is more than G.
Yeah, C is greater than G. That's how I would do that. Okay. The next one says Tiffany is taller than Cheryl. I'll write this up here. Okay, and how would we change this into a math equation here? Delaney? T is more than C. Okay, and then the last one, Tiffany is taller than Grace. How do we translate this one? Akiko, is that your hand? Yeah, T is greater than G. Okay. These two are given information, okay? Given. It's your if. Whenever you have something as if in a math equation, it's your given information that you use to solve it. This is your then, okay? This is your question. In math, if something says if something, 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 then would this be true? That's a question. This is your question right here. Is Tiffany taller than Grace based on this information? Yes. Does this help to look at it as equations? What I like to do sometimes to line them up, I didn't do it this time, but if it helps, I could have written this. I could have done this. So I lined up Cheryl here. So I know Tiffany is definitely greater than Grace. Tiffany is definitely greater. This is true. Okay? So in this case, the answer is true. Okay? Questions on that? Any questions? So our method is the following. Translate statement 1 into an equation. Translate the statement 2 into an equation. Determine if statement 3 is true, false, or uncertain based on statements 1 and 2. Okay? Questions on that? Let's do some of these on the next page. Let's start with this next one. Let's have, who wants to read this one? Delaney, want to read that?
Okay. The white pony jumped over more hurdles than the striped pony. The black pony jumped over more hurdles than the striped pony. The black pony jumped over more hurdles than the white pony. If the first two statements are true, the third statement is.
Okay, so let's translate statement 1 first into an equation. Who wants to do that? Who wants to translate statement?
Seems like there's like 6 statements.
It feels a lot heavier, right? But let's start with this first one. Who wants to do this one? Anyone? Donna?
White, so a white is greater than S, and W is greater than S.
W is greater than S, okay? All right, next one, second statement. Who wants to translate that one? Go ahead, Cindy.
D is greater than the S.
D is greater than. And the third statement says what? We need to translate that first before we determine. Let's hear new voices here. New voices. Jason, how do you translate the third statement?
WB is greater than W.
Okay, WB, this is the white black versus the white. Okay. Based on the first two statements, okay, is this true, false, or uncertain? It's uncertain. Okay. Why is it uncertain? Who wants to tell me why it's uncertain? Jack?
Because you don't know if they don't tell you whether the black jumped over more than the white, or the white jumped over more than the black. You just know that both of them jumped over more than that stripe.
Right. All we know is, and we don't know white black. We have zero information about white black. We don't know if it's barely more than white or less than white. We don't know. Okay. So there's not enough information to determine it. It could be either way. We have no. It could be even less than striped. White black is not necessarily striped. You guys see that?
Mm-hmm.
It could be white and black polka dots. We don't know what the white black horse is. Right. So not enough information there. Let's do a couple of these. Let's go with this next one. Sydney, read this one with George.
George is older than Bob. Fred is younger than George. Bob is older than Fred. If the two first statements are true, then the third is.
Okay. Let's define the first statement. Who wants to define the first statement? Jason? G is greater than B. Okay. Second statement. Who wants to define that? Cindy?
F is less than G.
Yeah. So I would just say, just put it like this. So try to line up the same variables, right? So Fred is less than. That's how I would write it. Okay. Don't switch the order. Okay. What about the third statement here? Delaney? B is greater than F. So this is saying, so line them up so you can see it like that. Okay. Based on the first two statements, what can we say about the third statement?
Uncertain.
Uncertain. We don't know. It could be either one, right? Who's older? They're both younger than George. And we have no idea. What if Bob was 5 seconds older than Fred? Right? We don't know. Okay. So it's uncertain on that one. All right. Let's go to number 2 here. I'll have, let's have Jack read this one.
Group A sings higher than Group C. Group B sings lower than Group C. Group A sings higher than Group B. If the first two statements are true, the third statement is true.
Okay, let's define these first. What is the first statement here?
The Group A sings higher than Group C.
Okay, so A is higher than C. You can see that? What's the second statement? Who wants to give me this one? Jason?
G is greater than G. C is greater than B.
Okay. Okay, C is greater than B. Okay, that's correct. All right, next one. What's the third statement here? See how I've lined these up here, Delaney?
Greater than B.
Third statement says A sings higher than B. So on this one, what do you guys think? This is true. Does this make it visually easier to determine it? You can see
I mean, it kind of does, yeah.
A is greater than C, C is greater than B, so A must be greater than B.
Oh.
Because C is C. You see that?
Like you can't flash that like
3 is greater than 2. 2 is greater than 1. 3 is greater than 1. That's how I would do it. Yes, Jack.
You could say A is greater than C, which is greater than B, and
You could-
simplify it.
You can line it up, but I don't want to mix the two. Because I want you guys to distinctly see statement 1, statement 2, statement 3. Okay? So 3 statements, that's how you do this. What I want to do is this. I'm going to actually move on from this because we have a few things that if we have time to come back, I will do that. Because I want to cover everything and make sure we get everything done for this class. So we're going to turn the page here, and we're going to talk a little bit about verbal classifications. Before we do that, can I have Jason, can I open one of those windows behind you? And we're just going to have to slide that. And then Sydney, do you want to open that one behind you? Yeah, that's good. We need some air, because it gets loud in that area. That's why we closed the door. Just slide. Yeah, there you go. Good. Okay, good job. All right, excellent, excellent. So verbal classification questions. The HSPT has 16 verbal classification questions in the verbal section. Okay? In the verbal classification questions, you're presented with 4 words and are asked to determine which one of the words doesn't fit with the other 3. So here's an example here. Which word does not belong? The thing that you guys will notice here is it will say which word does not belong, right? That's the wording of this question. To choose here among these 4 words, which one does not belong? Jason, your hand was up. I'm sorry? Cleave? Jack, what do you say?
I was going to say cleave, and I have like a reasoning.
Okay. Let's hear your all's reasons. Let me hear. So Jason had the same word first. Why cleave? It's not to connect them together. Jack?
Well, I know that crack and split are 2 different things. Like there's a space between them. And I wasn't sure about pair or cleave, but I knew that pair was more than one, so I assumed that there were 2 parts. And
Pair does not.
P-A-I-R.
Yeah, that's different. Pair.
I know, but the prefix of the word.
It doesn't really have a prefix for that one. Okay, it's not cleave. Delaney?
I don't, the one that does not belong to me.
Pair. Why pair?
Because that has nothing to do with the other ones.
What is pairing?
Wait. Yeah, I'm thinking of P-A-I-R.
Pairing, you're thinking of doubling up, but that's not what this word is. Zoe, you have a hand up. Did you have a different definition for different things here? I'm sorry? No, that's not what pairing is. Healing. So the difference between all of these words here is that cracking, cleaving, and splitting is dividing things up. Whether you're cracking a cracker, whether you're chopping by cleaving, using a cleaver to chop a vegetable, whether you're splitting something, just, either chopping or doing whatever you do, you're splitting. But pairing is peeling off the skin of something, like an apple or something. Yes?
Well, I feel like that's not really, that it's like a bad question, because a crack isn't like a thing, a split can be a thing, and
You're thinking noun versus verb?
Yeah.
Well, in this situation here, they're all verbs. They're using them as verbs. They're not using, they're not comparing nouns versus verbs here. So there are situations where parts of speech matter. So this is tricky because I can see already that people are defining words differently, some of them wrong definitions, some of them right. But what I want you guys to do is this procedure. When you find a common association among 3 words, it's got to be strong enough that you can exclude one of them. You group those 3 under a common association, and then obviously select the word that does not belong. The next part I think is more important, is to identify types of common associations, okay? Because if you have some of these things in the back of your mind, you're thinking, oh, this is how I can group these, okay? Number 1 is type of, okay? If they're all types of ways that you can split something, they are all classified together, okay? Another one would be characteristic. They share a common characteristic. A third one would be parts of speech. You might have a situation where it's 3 nouns, 1 verb, or 3 adjectives and a verb or something like that. That would be a reason to group 3 out of 4 together. A fourth one would be function, okay? They all serve the same function except for 1, okay? Another one would, for number 5, I would put in origin. where they have a common origin, and one of them does not share that common origin. Number 6, this is kind of rare, would be sound. So 3 words may sound similar to each other, like they may use the same vowels or something like that, and use the same vowel sound. That's really rare, because if you're looking at 4 words and you're like, these words have nothing to do with each other, but except that they sound similar, that would be it, okay? Number 7 would be topic. They're topically related, like they're all affiliated with the same type of subject. And if it was sports, like I'll make something up. If you said something like mitt, baseball, bat, and then the 4th one was something like poop, that doesn't fit, right? Because topically it's not related to the same thing. The last one is method, and it's the same method of reaching that word, or it might be used with the same method, okay? So you'll see this is not an exhaustive list, but this is a list of words that comes, associations, I should say, not words, list of associations that happens frequently. Good, so let's change to the next page here, and let's try some of these here. Let's close one of these windows. Sydney, can you close yours? That'd be great. This is like too loud. I thought it was going to be. That's more loud than me. A little bit less sound that way. Okay, good. Let's go with, let's start with number 7 here. Let's go with Zoe. You want to read this one for us? This one, you got to read all 4 of them and then come up with an association, a common association. Go ahead. Can you see a common association among these words? That is true. That's true. Anybody else? That's a functional type of association there. Any others? Is that one, Jack? Or you just hand went up and down? Okay, let's go with that. That's the right answer. Window does not belong because it's the only one that you can see through. Ceiling, floor, you can't see through it. So that is their association. Yes?
Can I give you 8?
You want to try 8? Okay, we'll go ahead and read that one for us.
Which word does not belong to the others? Orange, apple, tomato, carrot. And I said carrot doesn't belong because orange, apple, and tomato are all circular.
Okay, that's very interesting. Very, very interesting. So that is the right answer, but for another reason. According to the publisher who wrote this one, they said that the other 3 fruits are ones that are seed-bearing, whereas the carrot is a root vegetable, meaning like it's underground. Yeah, tomato has been classified as fruit.
Yeah.
So, but it had, those are all seed bearing, but that worked also, round versus straight. That worked also. But the right answer was carrot. Okay, let's go to number 9. Let's hear Jason. You want to do number 9 for us? Okay, tell us why emotion. That's correct.
Because disappointment, love, and anger is some kind of feeling.
They are all forms of emotion. Emotion itself is just a category for the others. The others are specific emotions.
What did you number 10?
You want to do the number 10?
No, I said 12.
12, I'll hold on to that one. Okay. Let's go to Mia. You want to read 10 for us? Why earthquake? That's correct. The others are all wind, right? Hurricane, tornado, and typhoon. And then earthquake is not related to wind. Earthquake is just land moving, shaking. How about 11 here, Catherine, before you squeal? Okay.
Which word does not belong to others? Medicine, healing, therapy, or surgery. So surgery, because medicine and healing and therapy are like all like stuff that like helps you and heals you, but like surgery is like you're like going through like an operation, which is not healing.
The answer, I understand what you're thinking, and this is where it gets really challenging. But the answer that they went with was actually healing. Yeah. The reason why, I know I was waiting for a squeal, but the reason why they chose healing instead of surgery is that medicine, therapy, and surgery are all forms of healing, whereas healing is a general category. Unless you had something like, it's like Jesus and he touches somebody, he's like, you are healed, right? You're like, Lazarus rises from the dead, right? It's like, okay, a little bit different. Not too many doctors can just put their hand. So let's go to, that was number 11. Delaney wanted this. She asked for this one earlier. So I'm going to give it to Delaney.
Which word does not belong with the others? Orange, brown, red, purple. It would be purple.
Why?
All the other colors are like fault-based, like red-ish colors. Purple is like blue. It has nothing to do with the other colors.
Okay. Let's hear from Mia for a second. That is correct. Red is primary, the others are secondary colors.
Red.
You were like really thinking of your fall fashion.
I was
there.
like, for some reason, like I had no explanation, but I was going to choose red for no reason. But then I'm like, no, purple makes more sense.
I was thinking you're like Martha Stewart, like you know, like for your fall
like,
collection, you should make sure to get these colors. Right? All right, let's continue. We're gonna move on. We still have antonyms, and we still have antonyms, and we finished that. If we finish antonyms, we're gonna go back to do some other stuff because I just want to make sure we're covering all. And there's homework, yes. No squeal? I wanted to squeal for that one. Right. Okay. All right, let's go to antonyms for a second here. And HSPT asked 9 antonym questions in the verbal section. Of all the things that we've done here, only one of them was 16, and that was like that was the which one was it? It was verbal classification. That one has more than any of them. Okay, so let's go to antonyms here, and they ask you to identify the opposite of a stem word. So you need to know the definition of the stem word in order to identify the antonym, because it's going to be awfully hard to find an antonym. Now, in terms of procedure, before we do this one, the Collegible method is to cover the answer choices. Now, I know for a lot of you guys that doesn't feel natural, but why we do that is we don't want to be influenced. Antonyms are tricky because oftentimes the first thing we think of is the definition of that stem word. And then our natural inclination is to look for something that means the same thing, but we should pause for a millisecond and say, wait, okay, I defined that stem word. I got to think of the opposite, right? So when you think of the opposite of your definition, then you lift your hand. Then you say, oh, well, I've defined the stem word. I found the opposite. I thought of the opposite. Now let's find the best match to my prediction. So let's look at the first one. Akiko, read that first word. What is it? What is inaudible? What does that mean? Who knows what inaudible? Delaney?
Kind of like almost like really, really quiet.
Really quiet?
Can't make out what it's saying.
You can't make out what it's saying? Okay. Jack?
Muffled.
Muffled? Okay. So now we got to think of the opposite of it, muffled or barely hear what it's saying. What's the opposite?
So like loud, clear, and understandable.
Loud, clear, and understandable. Now let's look at the answer choices.
Loud.
Oh, okay. So the answer is loud.
How could it be loud? Clear is like,
Yeah, but inaudible, it's, I mean, the synonym for it is clear, but it's like talking about the sound part. Right?
Yeah. I get it.
You can't.
For an audible is clear.
No, like, I mean antonym, not synonym, sorry.
Like loud is like the level of the noise.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what? We should go with, I just thought about this, we should go with clear because if something is loud, if something is loud, it doesn't necessarily clear. Clear means you actually understand it. So I would go with clear on that
And
one.
because I said it too.
No, that's not the reason.
Okay, so
Yes.
here's some strategies. When you have tough STEM words here, okay, there are a few options that you have in helping you to find the antonym. One is eliminate words that have no exact antonym. I'll give you an example. Word purple. Okay. Does it have an antonym?
No.
Not really. It's out. Okay. Certain words don't have a very precise antonym. Another option you have is eliminate two answers with the same meaning. Okay. If I had two words that were loud and blaring, those would both be out. You see what I'm saying? Third option here, yes, writing is a good thing. Yeah. So I'll repeat them. One is eliminate words without an exact antonym. Two, eliminate answer choices that have the same meaning. So if two of the answer choices have the same meaning, eliminate both of them, right? The third option is break down the stem word or look for words that have similar prefixes, suffixes, roots, or similar sounds. Break down the stem word with prefixes, suffixes, roots, or similar sounds. They might also have foreign language equivalents. If some of you guys are taking foreign languages like French or Spanish or something, it can help you when you're doing that. Okay?
What was the second option?
Eliminate answer choices of the same meaning. Okay? And the third would be look for roots, look for, prefixes or similar sounds. Okay? When you do synonyms, when you do antonyms, it's either you know it or you don't, a lot of times. But then other times you just have to break down those words for the antonyms. Don't forget that when you define the word in the stem, think of the opposite. You're not done with antonyms until you've thought of the opposite. Okay? So let's do a couple of these on this next page here. Let's start with number one. Let's go with Donna. You want to read the first one? Wait, don't read the answer choices. Cover the answer choices. Okay, let's pause for a second. When you read all the answers, you blah, 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 blah. Okay, don't do that. You know why? Because earlier on, remember, I don't know if you remember this, but when I think I asked Sydney to do it, I said, say to yourself, yes, no, or maybe. Don't even read past A without saying yes, no, or maybe. Because if you read past A, basically what it tells me is you're like, I'm not really sure, let me just read the next one. Maybe it's better. And that is not the way to do it, because if you do that, then you're kind of like, I'm confused. Because by the time you read all four of them, you're like, none of them stood out. Let me read it again. Not the way to do it. Before we do anything, cover the answer choices, define, accelerate. What's the opposite of getting faster? Okay, now look at the answer choices.
Stop, no, slow, yes, wait, quicken, no, hasten, no.
Okay.
Hasten maybe, actually.
To haste makes waste. It means doing something too quickly. So haste is.
Oh yeah.
So the answer here is exactly what Donna said yes to, which is slow. You guys see how that works? We don't want to just read the answer choices. I'm not trying to be mean to you guys, okay? When I go stop, it's because I want you guys to use a method here. Okay, let's go to number 2 here. Cindy, read number 2 for us.
Docile, the opposite.
What is docile?
I remember what I
Does reading the answer choices make it more clear? No. because they're going to be antonyms, not even definitions. Don't go to the answer choices yet. Okay? Who knows what docile is?
Yeah.
Gentle? Okay.
Like fragile.
Fragile, gentle. I like gentle. Gentle works really well. So the opposite of gentle is, what's that? Akiko? Rough. Okay, rough. Let's look at the answer choices now. You're looking for something that means rough. Okay? Mean rough. What's the best of these? None of the above. No, the best one here is active. Docile means out of control, it's controllable. So something that's opposite of controllable is something that is active. We're on number two. Number two. So don't work ahead. Okay. So let's go to number 3 here. Let's have Catherine, you want to read this one?
Candor means the opposite of.
What is candor? Don't look at the answer choices.
I'm not really sure. Maybe it's like intelligence.
Does anybody here know candor?
It's being in divergent.
It is?
That's true. Yeah.
Okay, let me use the word candor. You know the word?
I know it's an advocate.
Okay. I'll speak with much, I speak in much candor with you guys. I don't cover things up. When I tell you guys to stop, I don't go nicely and get, oh, could you like not try? I just say stop, okay? I speak with candor. Clearly, straightforward. I speak with much candor with you guys, okay? So with that, what's the opposite of clearly or straightforward? What's that?
Doubt.
Doubt?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Well, because like when you're saying candor, you're like.
Because you're looking at
you're
the
like,
answer
stop.
choices, that's why.
So doubt.
Don't look at the answer choices. Because it has nothing to do with doubt.
Oh.
Nothing.
Oh, I thought we were answering.
Don't look at the answer. Okay, guys, I'm not doing this to be mean to you. I'm trying to tell you that this is an example of being influenced by a wrong answer choice. Because first of all, you didn't know what candor was until I told you guys what it was. Then the next thing you do is, let's look for the opposite of being straightforward. Being straightforward is not doubt. The opposite is not doubt. Being not straightforward means being roundabout, like, hey, you know, isn't it kind of like warm here? Being roundabout is like someone who says, I really want someone to open the window, I want someone to open the door, but instead of saying open the door, they say, it's kind of warm in here. Okay, that's roundabout. You guys see what I'm saying? Or if you're hungry, and you're like, I'm kind of thinking like, you know, McDonald's, what do you think? You know, but not saying I'm hungry, right? Or if you're thirsty, instead of saying thirsty, you say something like, right? And that means I'm thirsty. Do you guys understand? That's not candor. That's being roundabout. Okay? What answer choice means roundabout here? The best answer is deception. Putting on a show, something in. The other words have nothing to do. Frankness is the definition of candor. Okay? So I want you guys to do this. That's why I'm like, I'm interrupting you guys when you start reading answer choices, because I know that you guys aren't using the method. Okay? Let's go to number 4 here. Let's go with Mia, number 4. Okay, what is nomadic before you do anything? Okay. What's moving around? Okay, so to not move, to stay. Stationary, correct. That's the method, that's correct. Sydney, next one. What is humble?
I know what it means, but I can't really explain it.
Try.
wise.
Well, what is, okay, Zoe, what's humble? Not necessarily. Can be, but not necessarily. Donna. The opposite of arrogant. But why can't you use definition? Someone who doesn't brag is humble. Someone who's not proud. Yeah. Down to earth. There you go. So the opposite of down to earth is someone who is proud. That's our best answer right there. Proud. So arrogant would have worked also. Arrogant would be the synonym to proud. Okay? That's your method there. Okay? All right, let's go to number 6. Jack, read that one for us.
Defined means the opposite of.
Read, what is defined? Don't read the answer choices. Lift your eyes. I can see your eyes.
Not listen to something or to not accept something.
Okay, to not listen, to not accept. That's partly what defying is.
Not embrace.
To not embrace, okay. Not accept, not embrace. Delaney, what would you say?
I can't remember the example, but people always say like, oh, they defied like
Defy
the
gravity.
impossible or
Divide the
something like
impossible.
that.
Yeah.
So like, kind of like, not surprised, but like, changed almost. Like,
Kind of, but not really.
like,
Zoe? To break. That works well. That's more. I think that's closer. I think when I think of defy, do you think of breaking? I think of overcoming or going against, resisting. So the opposite of resisting, breaking, or overcoming something is to accept it, to embrace it, right? So what's our best answer? Oh, it's right there. It's embrace, right? To accept or embrace. Do you guys see how that works? Okay, let's go to number 7 here, Jason.
Diet.
Okay. Jack, what do you want to tell us? What does gorge mean? To consume a lot of. To eat a lot of, right? So gorging yourself. You're like, oh my gosh, my favorite thing is M&Ms. I'm gorging myself on M&Ms. I was eating a ton of M&Ms, right? What would be the opposite of gorging? Diet. Right. You'd be like, okay, I'm resisting. I gave up M&Ms for Lent. I'm not gonna have M&Ms.
oh my god, I got my
So that would be. You want to do the next one, Jason? Okay.
Like, shorten.
Curtail is to shorten. Okay, so the opposite is to extend it. So that is your best answer too. Okay, good. All right, number 9. Let's go to Kiko. Initiate.
Initiate. Maybe means the opposite.
Who knows what initiate is?
Initiate kind of means to like, it's usually in clubs and stuff like that where they initiate someone.
Okay.
Or like they kind of accept someone.
I don't know about the
I'm trying to
accepting.
find the word, like I was just talking about this.
Okay. Go ahead, Jack.
To start or begin.
To start or to begin something is to initiate. If you said they initiated the game by doing a toss-up of a coin, a football game,
Oh, yeah.
they do a toss-up of a coin or something like that. Okay. So the opposite is, what would you say the opposite of initiating?
Terminate to end.
To end something, right? So terminate is your best one. To end it. Terminate. Yes. You want to do the next one, Delaney? Okay. What is?
Grant is the opposite of.
What is grant?
It's kind of like to get more money, like usually in your job, to kind of like go up to the next level to get a grant. Get more money.
Grants, you're thinking of funding. Grants can be funded as a noun. A grant is funding. But in this case, are they using it as a noun? Maybe not. What do you think, Jack?
A grant is something given openly or freely, or
Okay,
something that's
given, yeah. To
A
give.
gift.
Yeah, so the opposite of giving is
Taking.
taking.
Confiscate.
So confiscate is your best answer. You guys see that? So you got to think of what that definition is, the word is, and then find the opposite. Let's go to 11, Catherine, before you take a nap. Yeah, squealing. All right. Okay. And then what's the opposite of that?
Like being quiet.
Being quiet. Okay. Yes. So if that's the best answer is
Silence.
silence. Pretty obvious there. How about 12, Donna?
Rouse means that opposite.
What? Yeah. What is rouse?
Start something.
Start something. Okay. Zoe? Awake?
Arouse.
I haven't heard that one before, but I usually think of that person as a rabble rouser. Get started in fights.
Arouse a lot.
A what?
Instigate.
Instigate. Yeah, someone who instigates. That's what rousing is.
Wow.
Okay, that's good. The opposite is somebody who. I'm sorry?
Lull.
You could, yeah, you lull means like, instead of a rabble rouser, let me use that example, is someone who instigates or starts, controversies, fights, and the opposite puts everyone to sleep. It says, okay, let's chill, make it really calm and stuff like that. So that would be the opposite. So lull would be the opposite of rouse. The next one, credible. Let's go with Mia. Doesn't mean to give credit to. What does credible mean? Let's hear new voices here. Let's hear credible. Okay. Anyone else? Is the hand halfway up there, Zoe? It's either up or not. Acceptable works. You can say acceptable, Jack. What would you say?
Someone who's believable, or like I've heard it used as like credible source or something that you can.
Stronger, yeah. Believable is a little bit strong. Acceptable is kind of like, yeah, okay.
Reliable.
Reliable. Believable. So the opposite is unbelievable. There you go. Okay, good. Let's go to 14. Let's hear Jason on this one.
Opposite. Doing everything he feels.
Okay. And then what's the opposite of it? Okay. What's your best answer here, though?
Sloppy.
What's the difference between sloppy? Wait. Sloppy and slovenly.
Oh.
Who knows what slovenly is? How many of you guys know this one? Slovenly? What is slovenly?
I think like it pretty much means sloppy, I think.
Sloppy, the difference is this, okay? Being thorough has less to do with how neat. Okay? If you said, did you read this thoroughly? Yes, I read it thoroughly. I memorized all the things that you told me to memorize. Okay? That's thorough. But someone who reads it sloppy doesn't really memorize, doesn't really, kind of like, yeah, I read like the first sentence and I was done. Be sloppy. Slovenly means, hey, I leave my trash everywhere. With reading. You can be a thorough reader and it has nothing to do with your trash. But slovenly has to do with your trash. And the trash is all over the place. You guys see the difference there? So that's why sloppy is the better answer between those two. Okay. Questions? I want to do a couple more for the previous page because I kind of skipped those because I thought we were going to run out of time. I want to go back to logic questions on page 10 because I was really afraid we were going to run out of time, and I made sure we covered everything here today. But let's go back to these for a second, and let's look at question number, what did we leave? This 3, the percolator. let's do that one. Let's hear from who have not heard from for a while. Cindy, I haven't heard from you for a while. Number 3.
Coffee is an electric drip coffee. Coffee is stronger than electric drip coffee. Electric drip coffee is stronger than the extractor coffee. If the first statements are true, the first statement.
Okay, so this is pretty complicated here. You got all these different things here. So, like this. You want to do one, Delaney?
Yeah.
First sentence.
So he is less than, could do ED.
Okay, so this is ED is greater than percolator and coffee. Okay, that's how I would do that. What about the second sentence here? Jason?
EX is greater than
Say it again.
EX is greater than
ED. Okay, all right, that's good. And then the third sentence says, what's the third sentence here?
ED is more than
So the third one is ED is greater than EX. What do you guys think based on this? It has to be false. The conclusion cannot contradict these first two statements. These first two statements are taken as fact. This is hypothesis. This cannot disprove the facts. Okay, so this is false. Good job. All right, let's go to number 4, especially since we went back and forth. But I think the good thing about going back and forth is on the real test, it's in order. So let's go to number 4 here. Let's hear Sydney read this one.
Red kites fly higher than yellow kites. Yellow balloons fly higher than red kites. Yellow kites fly higher than yellow balloons. Those two statements are true. Those statements.
Translate the first statement. What would this be? Jack, first statement.
So RK higher than YK.
Okay. RK greater than YK. Okay. Second statement. Let's hear someone else. Jason.
YG is greater than R.
YB is greater than RK. Okay. Oh, it's R. Sorry. No, it's yellow. Yellow. YB is greater than RK. Okay. Third statement here. We got the Akiko.
YK is more than YB.
Okay, YK greater than YB. On this, is this true?
No.
YK is less than RK. Do we know what RK is in relation to any of this? This first statement doesn't tell us anything. Well, it does actually. It does. Actually, it does. This is, if you're to do this, YB is greater than YK because RB is in the middle. So this is the opposite of these two statements. This is false here. Okay. Good. It can get tricky when you have all these things and you start using two variables for each thing. 5 here. Let's go with Mia. You want to read 5 for us? So how do we translate the first one, Mia? Do you want to just give us that first?
And what?
So Boston lost more than New York lost. Okay. All right. Second statement here. Okay, so this is Boston win more than Baltimore. Okay, and the third statement says Baltimore lost the fewest games. So that means BA is less than BNNY. That's so two different things. First statement is talking about losses. Second one is talking about wins. The third statement is talking about losses again. What's the answer that you guys would choose here? What do you guys think of this? This is tricky. First statement is just Boston and New York losses. Second statement, Boston wins more than Baltimore wins. Third statement is Boston and New York losses are greater than Baltimore losses. Uncertain. Sydney, tell us why.
There is no thing about Baltimore losses.
Yeah, we have no idea. We have no idea how many they have. We just know that they win more than Boston. We don't even know if they're the same sport. You know, what if they were comparing two different sports? We don't even know, so it's uncertain. We're going to wrap it up on that. Number 8. Number 6 you can do at home. That would be the last one. But you guys can see that with the verbal section, it's a really wide variety of questions, all in 16 minutes. So now you have a technique to do these things, and practicing it makes it to answer these questions and do it systematically and more accurately. Okay, you guys are free to go. The homework is in the back of this, where it's at the very end. It says from pages 15 to 17.
So we just as a duplicate, number 22 comes up twice.
That's okay. 15 to 17 is your homework.
So we just